The month of February has long been celebrated to mark the plight and accomplishments of African Americans. This year's Black History Month is very special in its own way. March of this year will commemorate the 50th anniversary of the historic Selma to Montgomery March. When our minds reflect at this time in history, we usually think of figures such as Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. However, now is the time, and today is the time, that we honor our very own prolific figures within Gsmbc. It is my pleasure to present to you our very own Gsmbc Legends. Who we are as a people can be seen through the eyes of our legends. This documentary will tell their story and provide a legacy that will last forever.
I, as a 19-year-old young college student, I actually took part in the Selma to Montgomery March. We met the marchers on the outskirts of Montgomery and marched on downtown. So it has had a great impact on my life because I knew firsthand the way that it has influenced my life, because I was able to take from that, work in civil rights, doing voter registration in this county, along with several other people, my sister Patricia, and Reverend Parker and his family, some people from Abbeville, some college students from the north. We went door to door and identified people that were of voting age and encouraged them to register.
During that time, that was a thing that we were not able to do. We were not able to enter certain buildings and drink at certain fountains, and we did not have the right to vote. So it impacted our lives, and from that we remember that it's always wise to put God first and pray about anything you get ready to enter. So we remember being together, the togetherness of it, and also the determination to fight on.
Now that I can look back and understand that it helped pave the way for me to achieve the goals that I have achieved through my occupation and career and thing in life.
I feel that everybody should be more determined to exercise their right to vote and encourage everybody else to vote. It's privilege. And I'm like Desmond Tutu, if in any situation of injustices, to say nothing, you've taken the side of the oppressor.
The Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act has impacted my life tremendously. It has allowed me to carry the torch because people were beaten, lynched, and assassinated so that I could be elevated on their shoulders and so that I could vote in every election, become a registered voter, and elect people to pursue the American dream and equality for all mankind.
In the late 60s when it happened, I was a kid in the 6th and 7th grade, and I can remember the reflect it had on my parents and how when Martin Luther King got killed and John F. Kennedy got killed, we was made to come in and watch the news, and I could see the sadness in my parents and the community of what had happened. And what really brought it to the point was that I ended up going into a black institution and I learned more about it. And by being there, I began to inspire myself in ways that it made me more conscious of being black and being proud to be black.
I think the Voting Rights Act really helped open doors and create opportunities for us today. I feel like had it not been for those that came before me in terms of the fight and the struggle, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have now.
These specific pieces of legislation allowed us as African Americans to have equal access. And so it certainly was significant then, and it's still significant now.
Well, I was living and working in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon in 1964 when the Voting Rights Act was passed. And as I reflect back on that, it did quite a bit to help my generation with job discrimination and things of that nature. And as a result of the 1964 Voting Rights Act, they also passed a law in 1972, which was the Jobs Act. And what that did was made it illegal to discriminate against people because of their race, color, creed, nationality, or sex because of the application of a job. And that allowed many more people to get involved in getting jobs.
I chose teaching because back in the 50s, that was about the only professional career that blacks could go into. But then on the other hand, I had a second grade teacher that she was awesome. And I thought I wanted to be like her. So I thought then that I'm going to teach once I get of that age. And the pastor chose that profession because when we arrived in Headland, there were basic needs among especially the low-income families. And he started planning and thinking how he could help them out. You know, and having daycares, they were not able to afford a fee in order to pay for daycare service, which he started a daycare first. So he decided, he knew about the Head Start, so he started attending meetings, going to Montgomery, learning how to write up a plan in order to show the need for Head Start. And of course, after a period of time, with the officers of Shiloh, they went uptown, you know, to meet. And of course, the mayor did not approve it at that time, but he kept on fighting. And later on, the Southern Development and Planning Commission decided to accept it. And Head Start was started. And it's now operating today.
My mother and father was free professional in the area of teaching, and I just followed in the footsteps. The students were concerned, and because of that concern, we was able to make successful skill. I motivated them by taking them on field trips and all to try to increase their interest and all, and show them that there was another chance in life for them. There's always a challenge for life, and you're going to be successful in life, you've got to meet all those challenges. And I had to move beyond what I was doing to make sure I'm successful.
In 1934, my father, Newman Stanley Davenport, he moved to Alabama from Winfield, Louisiana, to live with his uncle Felix Blackwood. Now, Uncle Black, as we called him, was the first principal of the Henry County Training School in Abbeville. It was at this time that my father became interested in the field of education. Mr. Davenport was successful through the support of parents of Headland and the surrounding area. His general objective was seeing the need for educational opportunities for black students. Now, after being hired in 1946 as principal of the Headland Junior High School, which only went through 9th grade, Professor Davenport, as they called him in this area, was motivated to petition Henry County officials to add grades 10th, 11th, and 12th to form the first high school named the Headland Negro High School. In 1961, Professor Davenport's dream became a reality, and a new high school was constructed and named Northside High School. Professor Davenport was the only administrating principal who served in the position the entire time. With the help of my mother, Lillian Warmack Davenport, and 5 children, Stanley, Carolyn, Diane, Renee, and Janet, my father was successful in his principalship. It was his influence upon our lives that caused all of us to obtain teaching degrees and become teachers. Speaking as a retired educator of Dothan City Schools, passing of these acts enabled me to gain a position as a Troy State University intern trainer. I received the WDHN Golden Apple Award for excellence in teaching, and in 2000, I was awarded the Teacher of the Year for kindergarten through 2nd grade for Dothan City Schools.
I was the first black city clerk for the city of Headland. I had worked for the city several years, starting out as a dispatcher in the police department. And through the years, I was able to move into different positions, from head dispatcher to water clerk to assistant city clerk, and finally the city clerk. The things that made me successful was determination, willing to work hard, and willing to learn. And of course, my faith always helped me and sustained me through those difficult times.
In 1980, I was chosen to become mapping and appraisal clerk, having no idea what it was about. The only thing I knew is my parents paid property taxes. After I got on the job, the current mapper and appraiser were able to help me to understand what the job meant, and they didn't mind giving me advice. In 1996, I was named the county mapper for Henry County, and that's my present position now. It means a great deal because when my parents were growing up, they would never have had that opportunity. And to this day, people still ask me, "You still working at the courthouse?" I said, "Yeah, I thought you retired." "No, I'm still there. Soon maybe," but it has been a blessing for me.
My brother and I became the first African American firefighters here in Headland, he became a firefighter before I did. He became a firefighter in 1979. I became a firefighter in 1980. And through his encouraging me, I became a firefighter. And in 1989, I became the first black certified firefighter in Headland. And in doing so, in 2004, I became the first black fire chief. A lot of challenges that I face is learning the rules of a firefighter, and what a firefighter was, and what the position was, and what I had to do by being the first African American black firefighter, and how was I going to deal with it, and having to deal with a lot of white adversaries, and what is the future for me? This is the role, the stand I wanted to take as a firefighter. But as I became a firefighter, and I learned over the years, through the grace of God, and that I was able to achieve a lot of goals in that occupation. No matter what you're doing, as long as you pray and ask God for guidance and put Him first in your life. And it helps pave the road for you and make things a lot easier, and that you can sleep better at night.
Being the first black ROTC instructor at Middle Tennessee State University in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, gave me an insight on a lot of things that happen on college campus, because that's my first college campus assignment, not my last. And I learned that by doing so, I was able to intersect 1 hour physical training credit for the whole college by them doing PT with me in the morning. After spending 2 years in Vietnam, and I put in for recruiter duty, and at the time I was first scheduled to go to Arkansas, and then I got a call from DA assigning me to Clarksdale, Mississippi, which is the poorest part of the state of Mississippi, the Mississippi Delta. Low education, unemployment was at the highest. And I went into Clarksdale, not knowing when I was assigned there that I was the first black recruiter in Mississippi. However, being the first black recruiter in Mississippi, I was able to accomplish all assigned quotas and make production mostly 200%.
To be the first black to serve on the Henry County Board of Education, I consider that an honor. It was challenging. Can you imagine me, a black woman, walking into a meeting and I see nothing but white faces? But they were nice. And I had the same information they had. I think my success could be contributed to community comments to me. Thank you comments from the community, as well as comments from students.
Being the first African American Department of Leisure Services Director, it's been a great opportunity for me to set an example for a lot of the young people that I would think that look up to a lot of the city officials. It's afforded me an opportunity to be able to do things and go places that normally I would not be able to do. The challenging part of being the Leisure Services Director is setting the standards and maintaining certain standards. As a director and as being a black director, I feel like there's a little more pressure put on me than the average person that would be in that position. Matter of fact, being in the job for over 30 years, I've seen some of the directors that have come before me not have to deal with some of the issues that I have to deal with. It's nothing that I'm doing or nothing that I'm not doing. Sometimes it's the mindset of the public that you deal with.
And at the age of 29, I was appointed as the first African American personnel director, and I was also, at the age of 29, the youngest department head ever appointed at the city of Dothan. And so those were significant victories that I am so proud of, and certainly appreciate all of those that came before me to create these opportunities that we now enjoy.
After my Air Force career, the first job that I had, I was hired as the Chief Communications Manager for the cryptographic communications section in the Pentagon. And what we did there was to encrypt messages and things of that nature to try to keep the Russians from spying on us. And during that period of time, it was very competitive to get promotions. And if you were black, they didn't want to give you a higher level position. So when I started to competing for the higher level position, things got tough. So I applied for a position as a communication manager as a GS-12. And they passed me over along with another young man named William Spencer. And we both were qualified for the position, and we, in fact, were more qualified than the person selected. And because of the Voting Rights Act, and because of the Civil Rights Act and the Job Rights Act, we were able to file a suit against the federal government and the Pentagon in 1972. And it was the first suit filed against the federal government in accordance with the Job Rights Act. And it was not an easy task still. It took 14 years for that suit to be completed. However, during that period of time, I was able to get promotions, but it was because I had filed that suit. But I would not release the suit because that suit was going to help other people in my agencies and throughout the federal government to be able to be considered for positions that they were qualified for without being discriminated against.
Being the first black person to work at the Piggly Wiggly in Headland, that was a challenge because of the fact, first, the way I got the job due to my mother knowing some people. The people she worked for knew the people that owned the Piggly Wiggly, and she challenged them that any time for y'all to hire a black person, and they chose to hire me. But the thing was, hiring a black person to deal with grocery for the first time was a challenge because I faced some obstacles being a black bag boy and a grocery bag boy. And one of the challenges I faced was real touching was when I first started working there on Saturday, all the bag boys had to come up front and bag groceries. And this one couple, him and his wife, they came up and I was bagging the groceries. And the man looked at Mr. Beasley, which was the owner of the grocery store, and told him, I don't want this end to bag my groceries. And I heard it, everybody's heard it. So the manager, the owner, he went over and said, move out the way, Ricky, let me handle this. And he was bagging the man's groceries, and I could tell he was kind of ticked off because it was an odd situation, the way she said it. And he said, let me handle this, and he bagged the groceries. And when he got through bagging the groceries, he told the man, thank you, and I don't care if you don't come back again. And everybody just looked, you know, because it was shocking for him to say that. So I was kind of at odds. And so after that had happened, he said, Ricky, come on to the back, I want to talk to you. He took me to the back, he said, I'm sorry that happened, but you all right? I said, yes, sir, I'm all right. He said, I don't care if he don't never come back. And that made me feel like, has time really changed? but he really felt that way, and that was a touching moment. And there was another incident where this white lady, I knew she didn't like me, and I could tell. So every time she get ready to come in to get her grocery bag, she would make sure that I be going to the back. I could tell she would wait. And so one day I played a trick on her. I asked if I was going to the back, and she came up and she went to the counter to get her grocery packed up, and I walked up. She turned pure red. She was just angry and angry, and while I was bagging her grocery, she was so red she couldn't even really count. But I laughed at that because I knew what was going on, and I told the manager, he said, I don't care if she don't come back. But it was a touching time, but we got over it.
68, I started my business back then, but which it was a challenge. It was a challenge because people wouldn't, at that time, they didn't accept me as a black man. It was hard on me. You know, at that time, you know, I drive up to people's houses, you know, because I was the only black roofer contractor that was in Henry County. So I faced a lot of obstacles. You know, the challenge that I had that people didn't call me by my name. They always called me Uncle, Boy, Tom. So even though I had my name on my shirt, but they still didn't call me nothing, you know, call me by my name. That's a challenge that I had.
When I first went in the Air Force, it was not natural for blacks to get in the Air Force. During those years, had it not been for things like the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, people would not have given you an opportunity to show what you could do with your skills. No matter how many degrees you had, how professional you were in your position, you were still held down if you were black. And, you know, when you applied for positions, you weren't able to get them and things of that nature. So that was a big challenge for us in those days. I was fortunate enough to to work for the Navy's first black admiral along the way. And that's when things kind of eased up. He came in and took charge of the agency. He knew about what the times were for discrimination because he had had a long road to become an admiral. He finished from Virginia Union in Richmond, Virginia, and he had a long road to become an admiral. So he was very familiar with the racial discrimination situations that we had. And because of him, he helped several of us in my agency and throughout the government to get better jobs. He appointed me as his EEO director and compliance officer, and because of that, he gave me the leverage to go out and hire college and high school students. I had a summer school program for high school students that went throughout the year. They could work 20 hours a week and get money that way, and then they could come and work full-time during the summer. He also allowed me to go down to several historically black colleges and recruit college students to come to Washington, as far away as Houston and El Paso, Texas, and bring students into Washington to work. And all of this kind of helped us to move forward. And I had over 1,000 students doing this. And I got recognized in 1987 by the NAACP at its national convention in New York City at the Hilton Hotel for having done that. And that, to me, that was a great testimony to hard work and trying to help others.
I had a high school guidance counselor that kind of helped me make some decisions on some medical, healthcare related fields. And physical therapy was one that I had not heard much about. And I just kind of pursued that, looked into it, and thought I would really be interested in working with people and patients and their rehabilitation and making a difference in their lives.
I was born and raised in New Jersey, and I had an aunt who was in healthcare food service. And as I was talking to her and I would be around her, she encouraged me into the field. She seemed to enjoy her work. She, for that time and era, her pay was pretty good too for that time and era. So my love for teaching, my love for people, and my wanting to serve, and to be able to, and I always pulled on my grandmother's tail in the kitchen, so I had a love for cooking. So in that, with all of that encompassed and her encouragement, I went into the field of dietetics.
So I struggled in school. I didn't have good study habits because when I was in high school, things were kind of easy for me. So when I got to college and you had some courses that required study, didn't know how to study. I was used to cramming, so that, but you know, I did good anyway, and I had some money struggles. I think I didn't have my perspective right, you know. Even though I went to church, I don't think I had a association with the Lord per se, but I know He had His hand on me because He took care of me. But I did believe in prayer. I prayed about a lot of things, and pretty much, I can honestly say it, pretty much whatever I prayed for sincerely, I received. As a professional dietitian, as a black, everybody knows about food, everybody can cook, everybody knows what tastes good, at least what tastes good to them. Everybody has an opinion. So, I mean, I'm not trying to put a profession down, but nursing per se, that's a bigger profession, and most of those were Caucasians, and sometimes you have to compete with them about giving advice. You know, we're the professionals in that area, and sometimes they don't give out the best advice. You know, no harm intended, but it is what it is. So sometimes we tell them one thing, they tell them something else, and that creates a little conflict. And we're the experts in the area. We're hired to be there, and I didn't have a lot of other challenges as far as racial challenges. My biggest challenge was I'm being the only male and everybody else is females. So that creates a problem sometimes, but you know, it's pretty easy to get by that.
When I was 15 years old, I had such a desire and passion to have some type of impact on the lives of our community and on the lives of people in general. And so at the age of 15, I became an entrepreneur. I opened the first business. It was titled D's Barbershop and Recreation Center. I was a barber, and I have been a barber for the last almost 20 years. And so that was my first experience as being an entrepreneur and a community leader. The challenges that I faced as the first African-American personnel director for the city of Dothan was the sheer fact that I was 29 years of age, and several of my colleagues had been employed at the city for 29 plus years. And so automatically there was some apprehension about my ability and intelligence to be able to manage and lead such a massive operation with over $60 million payroll and benefits that we offer to over 1,200 city employees. And me alone, with a staff of about 10 human resource professionals, we manage a lot of the day-to-day operations as it relates to employment, as it relates to insurance benefits and retirement. And so it's a massive amount of responsibility. And so proving to others that I could handle that kind of responsibility, and I was made to do the job.
The advice that I would give to the current generations: ground your belief in God, get yourself a good education, choose a career that coincides with your attitude. Stick with it, don't fray, and move forward.
Put God first. Decide what they want to do and how they want to do it. And then go about being determined. You know, think back over the days when you could not do certain things, and now you have it right. So just put your whole heart in it and go after it.
Be willing to work. They should not expect everything to be easy. They should take the challenges that they face and use them as motivation.
Stay true to yourself and take a stand and believe in what you believe in. You know, be respectable, respect your elders, and face the challenges head on.
The advice my father would give to the current generation would be work hard and expand on your opportunities. Now, since I grew up in an age where respect was taught, my advice would be for you to respect your parents, your associates, and most of all, have self-respect.
But I would tell anybody, if you choose a career, a job, or whatever, pick something that you really like to do and have an interest in doing.
Be true to yourself. God made you. He specifically designed you for a purpose, and it's okay for you to be different, because whatever God made it with a purpose, and He, in His design of making all of us as individuals, there's a specific purpose and a place where we all fit. And so once you develop your skill, your talent, your ability, then you can expect success to show up in your life. And so although the road gets rough and it gets tough at times, stick to your plan. Always remember that if you walk by faith, God will honor your obedience and He will bless your life.
As you've seen and heard, we have our very own living legends right here among us. Who will be the next generation of Gsmbc Legends?